Hey, good morning, everybody. How's
Well,
it doing today? Marianne, Megan, Justin, thanks for joining in. Uh,
hello.
we have a really pretty cool, a big different, big tack shift for us. Lot less infrastructure, a lot less like security. We're going to start working on a section around business process automation. It's kind of a buzzword out out in the world right now. People want to talk about it. We're gonna kick it off and kind of define it and what does it all means and how does it actually do anything for your business or for your operations. But before we dive in, I just want to say thanks for liking and subscribing and checking out our YouTube channel and the other live streams. Again, some really great traction there. We have a ton of content there. We're always looking for content ideas. So if you have some ideas, throw them on there. Just comments, leave it. We love it. Um, just so you know who we are, we're Valiant. We're a managed IT services provider here in New York, but we service a, our clients nationwide. So
Mhm.
over the place, wherever. I don't know if that's true or not. Pretty extensive. Um, but we do this every week. This is the valiantway.com live. We do it every Thursday at 10:30, regardless. And we always have some really good content on it and kind of ideas. So before I dive into business process automation, I want to hand it over to Justin for the download.
Morning. So this week I want to talk a little bit about password managers. There's been some news lately about different changes in different systems, and people are looking to change up what they're using or thinking about starting to use one. And I'm not really going to talk about specific platforms or things, more what to look for in a good password manager and why you want to use one. First, why you want to use one. They are a great way to secure your account by making sure that you don't use the same password on more than one website. That's really the most common way that things get breached, is that you use the same username and password. Your username is usually your email address, and use the same password. And if you use that on an important site, your Facebook account, your bank account, but also on some small blog site or something somewhere, and one of those gets breached, well, now people have access to your username and password combination, and the first thing they're going to do is try that at all those other places. So by making sure that you don't reuse passwords, you really help stop that. So if a site gets breached, that's where it stops. It's that site, you change that password, you're good to go. And password managers help you do that by keeping all your passwords in one place so that you don't have to memorize them. And when you do that, you can also make them super complex. All of my passwords for all of my accounts are at least 16 characters of mixed letters, numbers, symbols. I wouldn't even know how to begin to memorize those, but I don't have to because the password manager does that for me and pops it in place. When I need to reset those passwords, takes care of that for me too. Pop in the old one, put in a new one, and I just keep going on doing what I'm doing.
Right.
The features you want to look for in a good password manager, obviously that to be able to auto generate those passwords and store them, but also to store other data. I keep some of my credit card information there, so I don't have to go and type that in every time it's loaded in, but it's encrypted and secure. You want to find ones that have a good plugin that work with the browsers or apps that you like to work with. The browser plugins are especially useful because they can help you in a roundabout way identify some phishing sites. I know that if I go to a login page for my bank and my password manager isn't telling me to fill in the password, I'm going to look twice at what's going on there. Did they
Mm.
change their page, or am I at some other site? Because the password manager just looks at, like, oh, this site has that. So it's that in there. And another great feature for them are scanning your password library against known breaches and known data dumps. So you
Right.
can get an alert that says, hey, you're using, this username and password that you're using for this site showed up in this data dump. You should go and change this password. Or,
Right.
hey, you're using the same password for these 5 sites. You should go and change those and through there. I know I said I'm not going to talk about specific types of password managers that you can use, but I also said there are a bunch of pay ones that you can do that are great for families and groups because you can share passwords with each other.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but there's also a ton of free ones, including built into most browsers. There are limitations for them since they're not going to be across other browsers and other pieces, but using any password manager, at least to start, is better than using none at all, is better than using a piece of paper, is better than using a Word doc on your desktop. So,
or the worst thing of all, a Google or Excel sheet stored in a cloud provider,
yep,
where if you get that, now you literally got the one thing, you have the keys to the
that's got
kingdom.
absolutely everything. And yeah, so you definitely want start using a password manager. If you are not sure about which ones to use, reach out to your IT department. If you're one of our clients, reach out to us or shoot us a question if you have one, and we'll be happy to go through from there. But
Awesome.
that is the download.
Awesome, Justin. Thanks a lot. That was
You're
really,
welcome.
really good. I know we discussed password manager, but it's a constant thing. We got to always be kind of go back to it. It was such a fundamental. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about business process automation, BPA. It's being IT people, we love acronyms and three letters and that sort of thing. So, but
Yep.
really, what we want to talk about is business process automation is using technology to reduce the amount of work or deliver a certain outcome for things that are manual tasks today. And we see them all over any business you look at, any operations for that matter, has tons and tons and tons and tons of things that you do repeatedly that are pretty low value work. They're not, they don't deliver a lot of value to both the customer or to you internally. So we always want to look for that. So, idea here is we want to reduce costs, get a higher efficiency, and just streamline these processes. So when we dive in here, so let's start. How do you start? Where can you do it? Justin, Marianne, you guys do a lot of this, Megan as well.
Mhm.
So where do you start with the how you apply it?
Oh, Marianne, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, one thing that you can look at is manual tasks that happen a lot. Like, even if you aren't sure, is there an automation for it? This is the best way to the best place to go. When something takes a lot of manual effort and has to be repeated over and over again, chances are there's a way to make it so that is automated. So that's one way that you can do it. I know that we do it sometimes, even if it's just something very quick. Oh, we'll talk a little bit more about like specifics, but if it's something very quick, I need to, every time I finish this type of file, I need to move it here. We can make a process that'll do that.
Right.
So it could be something very simple. It could be more complex. If this, not this. But yeah, anything that happens a lot, think about if it has to be manual.
Right.
It might not.
Yep. Another place that we look is when you need to coordinate with multiple people to get something done. We see that a lot in like a lot of the processes we have for working on projects or working on tickets. If one person is a bottleneck, it slows up the whole thing. But if you can find a way to automate the pieces for that so that it's not necessarily a I take something and give it to Marianne, but maybe it's, something goes from one queue to the other, and Marianne's team looks at this other queue and is interchangeable from there. That then reduces the chance that, oh, Marianne's out sick today, so this thing is all going to pile up. Meanwhile, other people are, not working on it because this stuff is just in Marianne's inbox. So that's another way where you can get those kind of bottlenecks to help free that up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that another place that you see a lot is, and I know just Megan and I work quite a bit on in time sensitive tasks, right? Megan, I mean, that's something you always end up having to do is, people say, just day to day, you get it. Hey, when am I going to get this thing? And
when are we going to schedule this thing? And so like, it's a lot of basic things on our end have to happen before we can perform properly for the client. And I think, like you were saying, it's time sensitive. We have a million things to do. Like George, you have hands in so many things in our company, as you should. But these automated tasks help me catch those things.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like we have some automation. All right, our time sensitive around like proposals or like MSA signatures and using like e-sign platforms and notifications around that. That's a great example of the time sensitivity. You want to get that stuff done. But and also I think the other one that we see, and Justin, I think you and I work on this all the time, is tasks with significant impact.
Yeah,
like things that things that are systems.
Yeah, a lot of the automation and pieces that we build into are around when different departments need to interact with each other. And you have to watch that episode
Yeah,
again.
it's good.
Right.
But
It's really funny.
building off of what you're just talking about with the, Megan gets a MSA out to a client and they review it and they do their process and then it's signed. Okay, now that is now bringing in 3 other departments to execute on
Right.
what we've done.
Right.
How do we make sure that all that's done? And it's a combination of a workflow. Megan knows what, like this thing comes in and then I put this here and I put this here and I put this here. But what happens after those things are in place triggers some automation for different teams. We have, the procurement team and the engineering team and the billing team, all doing the pieces that they need to do.
Right.
And if one of them starts working on something and the other 2 don't, it's doesn't get done because it requires all these other systems, all these other places
Right.
together.
Right.
Yeah.
The BPA can orchestrate the pieces so that they get done in the right time period.
Yeah.
Right. You don't send out a contract until, if you think about like anything, you don't send out a contract until all these other pieces are. So, and it gives it organized order. And the other thing I think the big thing is it gives you an audit trail on compliance, like who did what, when, and where. And the system doesn't like. Obviously, Lucy's in trouble. She has a lot of chocolate, but she shouldn't be eating the wares. But like it's
paper trail for her audit.
exactly. So, but I think that's a big thing. Yeah, sorry, Justin.
No, yeah, you can look at the log and say like, okay, this document was put in this place, and then this thing happened to it, and then this happened to it, and then it went to this place for somebody to do their job on it, and it builds that trail of what was done. So if even if you don't have compliance requirements, even if we're just looking at troubleshooting or trying to figure out where a breakdown was, like, hey, why did this project go so much longer than it was supposed to? Well, we can look and see like, okay, this is the flow that something took, as opposed to trying to figure out who did what, where, and when. It's at least in a interconnected pieces.
Exactly. If you always want to step out of it for a second, we hear a lot of buzzwords in our industry, and digital transformation is the one everyone talks about. But reality is this is an example of the digital transformation, because we're taking kind of like low quality, not say low quality, but like things that are like not valuable to a customer or valuable, and eliminating it from having a person to do it, so that person can do a better job for the customer or have a better understanding of anything, versus doing like, kind of like the Lucy, like painting the chocolate, it's like, so it's kind of a terrible thing. So, anyway, it's a great way to start. It's a great way to look at your operations. And, one thing we do this all the time. We have a department in Valiant about this. I'll get that in a second, but, we talk a lot about where are the potential automations? Where do you see it? I mean, Justin, Marion, you in your job role, where do you see the automation possibilities?
The simplest ones, I would say, are around things like notifications. So we have it's a very simple integration that when one of our proposals gets signed, there's a Teams message that pops up in a specific channel that says this proposal was signed, and it saves that document into a specific location. It's not the most elegant and biggest automation piece there, but that's the whole point, is that it just saves enough time that instead of somebody having to check, we get an active notification, and instead of having to go find the file, there it is. And that's real simple one based on I'd say the notification, in this case Teams, which can do email, text, and data aggregation, being able to move things into places where they're supposed to be, so that people can find them more efficiently.
Right. We see
anything also with a long checklist. I know that we mentioned employee onboarding and offboarding, but if you have 20 tasks to do, how many of them can be one task where a human only has to do the one thing, and then 10 of those tasks get done because they did the one thing? I'm onboarding a person, here is their name, and it's automatically going to create an email or any of that stuff that needs to be done. That's always a potential. If there's a lot of tasks that need to be done, can a human only touch one thing and then the other stuff gets done because of it?
I'd say a great one that falls into that too is time tracking.
Oh yeah.
That's in our business that's important, so that we know both for projects that are hourly and also just in general to make sure that we're being efficient. And rather than have people log their time individually, we have our ticket system logs the amount of time that someone's in a ticket when it's open when they go to save their
Yeah.
notes. So you don't have to keep
Right.
it. Again, it's a small thing, but that is part of an automation, and so they're
Oh yeah.
keeping track of what they're doing from there and passing it through.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's because it's really hard if you're just manually time tracking. Sometimes you'll be in the middle of something and go, "When did I start?"
Yeah.
But
Right.
if you have a system, as soon as you
Exactly.
open the program or open the ticket, it starts counting for you. Then you can
Mhm.
very easily go, "Oh, okay, it's
That's
been
when it
15
was.
minutes."
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Yeah.
especially for all service businesses need to track time. It's how you know what you're doing. It's your inventory.
That's
If
how
you think of it that way.
Yeah.
even
So
just review your efficiency and see where you can make
correct.
improvements. Yep.
But yeah, and another one we see, and this is one that's always a struggle, is customer billing. I mean, that's always a
Oh, yeah.
source of frustration for just about
Everyone. Yeah.
everyone. I mean, when we were preparing for this, we were talking about mortgages and banking and as
Yeah.
a business, and how frustrating that is. And it really kind of like you want to max it. The least amount of effort to get something done, and to get it
Yeah.
out, so you don't have to
Mhm.
deal with this. So it's good.
Yeah, really anything that you can find where you are spending time doing something that
Mhm.
you could speed up and make more efficient by having even just a small piece of it done, that's a
Right.
place where there's a potential for automation. You don't have to think big of
Right.
how do I automate the process of going from the meeting with a client to delivering a product. The little tiny pieces that you might do once a day, once every 10 minutes, those kinds of things,
Oh,
you
yeah.
you know
Yeah.
Matt's phrasing is minimize your effort and maximize your
Correct.
productivity.
It's very
Yeah.
true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, and that goes directly to Matt's wheelhouse, and one that Megan and I work on. All of us actually work on as we're
Right.
doing this is marketing. There's
Right.
so much marketing effort. I mean, that you do so many tasks involved in it to get to do that effectively that you needed some automation around it.
Oh,
So
sure. I mean, even the simplest when you can time when you post things, so you don't have to go,
Right.
oh, it's this time, let me post that pic. I mean, you can
right.
set it up so it automatically posts at the
Right.
appropriate time when it's going to have the most impact.
So
Yeah. Absolutely.
exactly. So I mean, I guess just to kind of bring this into like wrap it up into something, but like where does this help us? Like where does the benefits go? Like how? Like where? What does um besides like just talking buzzwords like digital transformation, like where's the nuts and bolts? And that's why at the
Yeah.
end of the day, where's the nuts and bolts of this stuff?
Yeah, I think for us, like business process automation is like cool. Like honestly, it's something we're really interested in.
Yeah.
The reason that before this we kept going off on tangents is we really like this stuff. But what's really important is what's the bottom line and what can it actually improve in your business.
Right.
So there's a
Mhm.
couple things that we were talking about before. One is just to start with is clarity. It does take some planning to get done, and it has that sort of workflow. It's not just let me turn on this switch and everything works, but it is something that like can absolutely make things better. Figure out who's responsible for what
Mhm.
what's the if to make the then happen.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
it's just a lot of, but if you get that stuff set up, it becomes really interesting to have that sort of that workflow is if it's automated, you've got it kind of written out. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we get to the next part of it, as always, our loyal watcher Steffi Cal,
Yeah.
and
And sometimes guest.
And sometimes
Yes,
check
you,
out last week to
so
see how.
you did
Yeah,
a great job last week. Thank you, Steph. And
absolutely.
this is great. So Seven writes, I've been using a desktop app called Text Expander for 3 months and changed my work life. Text Expander lets you instantly insert snippets of text from a repository of emails, boilerplate, and other content as you type using a quick search or abbreviation. Now,
Mm.
that's a perfect example. I mean,
Mhm.
I use a similar thing that's built into HubSpot called snippets. And what that does is allows you, same word. And what that does is allows you to not have to rewrite every time a new email. I mean, one of the biggest problems I know, and Justin's known work, actually you all worked with me for quite some time now. I probably have about 47, 48 different variations of the same business plan or process or anything like that. And so this allows you, this is the kind of thing where you can say, like, I don't need to say this in 20 different ways. Like we know
Sure.
how we
Yeah.
want this to be.
Mhm.
We know how an onboarding should look like, or we should know how that works. So it's really important to do that. So
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
it's a
that
really great.
actually Oh, I was going to say that actually goes on to one of our other points, which is like standardized operations, is that you're having the same messaging if you've got one of those things. So that's actually a really good example because because
exactly.
you're getting out the same messaging. You're not using a different word for one person and they might interpret it differently. Or honestly, even, maybe you're in a bad mood, you don't realize what your tone comes off as. If you're using these automated processes for the things that you do over and over again, it's going to be standard. The customers are going to get the same, effort and level every time. So,
and I think that goes really well just into why we do all of this. It's customer satisfaction. And I think even like coming from retail, it's like there's always the the over promising and under delivering. And a lot of times where that kind of the under delivering falls in VPA not being properly implemented or processes not being properly streamlined, because that's when things get dropped. No one wants to displease the customer. Usually, Valiant, we never want to displease the
Try not to.
No, we really don't. And I think this is a really good sort of vector to look at when you're trying to figure out how to make sure you can deliver on your promises.
Exactly. It's a great communication tool, consistency of communication, because, whenever we do survey our customers who have just, QBRs and quarterly business reviews, not trying to have to use acronyms. I honestly, that consistency of communication is singularly where I think we have the most area for improvement as a company. Like, we know that about ourselves. And so that BPA is a great place to really focus our energies on and stuff like that. So in that realm. So,
and not just it gives you a great way to see where we know what we want to focus on, but it also gives you a great way to see things that you should focus on and make iterative improvements to it. If you have the same, I'm going to build on Stefan's example again. If he's got this, if you have the same response to a standard question every time, and you're using that, now you can use that information to say, okay, well, what part of the process leading up to this is causing people to ask that same question?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then refine that. So if there's always the same question about, hey, I don't understand what this thing is, and so like, oh, it's right here, it's written on this part, and so like, okay, maybe I need to move where that's written so that people can see it better, and use that as feedback to improve your process.
Perfect. And not to bring it back to billing, but I'm gonna bring it back to billing for a second. If they keep getting the same question over and over again on the bill, then you should absolutely figure out what the root cause of that confusion of the bill is. And these can, and as it is an intermediate step of getting that clarity and that customer satisfaction up. So this is great. I'm super excited. This is like, because, we love it. I love it. We love doing security, love doing IT, love infrastructure, but sometimes we just like seeing businesses improve. That's one of the big, we want everyone to be successful, and this is a great methodology for success for companies, even if it's small steps in the right direction of saying, all right, what's our process? Where do we got to break it down, understand it? And then, every time we've ever done that at Valiant, we find new things that we didn't even think, or that it was like this fuzzy box that was done by 20 different people in 20 different ways that really caused the problem.
I have a great example of that. Is one point someone or a team messaged me and said, hey, I think the automation for this thing is broken because I've been putting this in and it hasn't been happening. And I said, no, the automation isn't broken. I was out sick yesterday. I've been doing that. It wasn't an automated process. It was when I saw this ticket come in, I did the next step on it. So, great. Exactly. Now that it seems like it should be automated, let's automate it. But
yes, you can fix that broken link, or we talked before, human error. Like, maybe I just forgot to do the next. I saw the email, but I forgot to put it in this place. But if I have it automated, it's going to do it on its own. It's okay. We're human, so we can break down the process a little bit.
I know, crazy madness. So, well, this has been an awesome stream. I'm super pumped. I can't wait to do next week. Next week, we're going to go really deep into some nuts and bolts. Matt and Steph are going to join us. It's madness. So who knows what's going to happen? It's going to be a big stream. A lot of stuff, because this is the kind of stuff that really gets us out of bed in the morning in terms of hey, making things better every day, get that innovation in place. Even if it's small, tiny innovations, 1% over a year is a massive change. And we always look at here at Valiant. We have 2 people fully dedicated to this, and then everyone kind of touches it in one way or another. So it's a really important and just timely thing. So, and that I think. I said, please check out our blog. Please check out the live streams and the pre-recorded ones. There's such great content in there. Great tutorials. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We're all over the place. We want to have we really want to give you some real content here. So next week, we'll be definitely talking about using a suggestion box in Microsoft Forms, which is a simple thing built into it's built into every Office 365 tenant. These are two tools that are included with your tenant. Check them out. They're really useful. And even if you use them for small pieces, they can be really helpful. So with that, I want to say thank you, Justin. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Marianne. Great stream as always. And thank you, Matt. And thank you, Stefan. And I'll see you all next week. Have a great day.
Everybody.
Bye now.
Bye, everyone.